Well, thank you for joining us here today for the latest news where you live. I'm Joe Ellison. Today, the search continues for the body of Allison Castro. The Benton County dive team will return to Beaver Lake after a full day of searching on Wednesday. Now, here's the timeline of what happened. Last Monday, police responded to a call at Casey Jennings' Fayetteville home, and they say they found him overdosing. Now, while at the home, officers tell us that they found documents indicating he possibly killed Castro and disposed of her body. He is now in police custody. According to police, also, the two had dated in the past and were still living together. And today, the search continues at Beaver Lake. And Arkansas State Police are investigating a deadly shooting that happened at CHI St. Vincent's Hospital in Sherwood, Arkansas. Now, that's just north of Little Rock. Officers arrived to find the body of a victim, 21-year-old Leighton Whitfield. He wasn't a patient of the hospital and was visiting someone there. At around 11 o'clock, Little Rock police arrested the suspected shooter, Raymond Lovett, at a gas station and say it was an isolated incident. Workers in the hospital say what started as just another day quickly turned to panic when they were notified about an active shooter situation.
We had to have our hands up. We had to do it one by one. When I ran out, my mom, she was across the street. I was just looking for her. I was on the phone. I was very emotional. I was crying.
Well, hospital officials praised the courage of their healthcare workers, noting multiple surgeries were happening during this lockdown, which doctors were able to continue as police investigated. All right, before we get to more news, let's get a check of the weather where you live with meteorologist Zach Scott. Zach, it seems like things are cooling down just a bit for us.
That's right, Joe. You nailed it. We're getting a little bit of a cool down here in the final couple of days of the work week. Temperatures have been great overall. We've been mostly ranging from the lower to upper 80s every day. Earlier this week, Monday, we had some 70s mix in, but it's a lot more comfortable, a lot nicer and cooler than it was last week with the record-breaking 90s and triple digits. It even went into the weekend. Okay, so we're sitting pretty already. We're just about to get a little nicer because we're getting some cooler air nudging in from the east. Instead of lower to mid 80s today for northwest Arkansas, we're talking mid to upper 70s for most of the area. A little bit of cooler air just to the east of us trying to nudge in for Eureka Springs to Huntsville. Could be closer to more of those mid 70s. Upper 70s to low 80s looking a lot nicer than the mid to upper 80s we've been running with the last couple of days for the I-40 corridor southward. We do have to talk about a little bit of a fire danger threat here. It's crept up the last few days. We've got the dry vegetation because of the drought conditions. We've got dry air in place because of the cold front that came through, pushed all the muggy air down to the Gulf of Mexico. But we've got those winds that have been picking up the last few days. Wind gusts to 20 miles per hour and that dry air. If a spark can get going, that dry air makes it easy for a fire to start. And if a fire starts, the gusty winds could spread it along pretty quickly. So keep that in mind. We've got those burn bans popping up more and more across eastern Oklahoma and Arkansas every day. So make sure you're being smart out there. All right, temperatures this evening. We're cooler in the River Valley and in Fort Smith. So if we're cooler in the afternoon, you know that's setting us up for an even cooler evening. This will be one of the cooler nights. We're going from the 70s into the 60s. If you're still looking to have some fun, head over to the Arkansas-Oklahoma State Fair. And our coolest night so far this fall, it's on deck. We're talking Friday morning, low to mid 40s for northwest Arkansas, 40s getting into the River Valley. We'll likely keep a few low 50s trying to mix in, so looking pretty good there. And then, Joe, I'll send it back to you with this. I've changed the forecast a little bit for the Hogs. Instead of topping out around 83, I've lowered the high. Some cooler air sticking around, upper 70s, low 80s for that 2:30 kick with still a lot of sunshine.
Seems like perfect weather for Razorback fans. Thanks so much, Zach. All right, the FBI is continuing their search for information in the disappearance of an Arkansas man, Jason Lirrell. Now the FBI is offering a reward for up to $30,000 for information. Now, this is a missing persons case. The FBI says they're just hoping to safely reunite him with his family. Now, he was last seen between the area of Caps Ranches Road in Benton County and County Road 1101 in Madison County. After Lirrell's disappearance, some of his belongings were found by law enforcement in Fayetteville, Benton County, Madison County, and Eagle Rock, Missouri. The FBI is offering a reward of up to $30,000 for information leading to finding him. Now, if you have any information about this case, you're asked to call the FBI office in Little Rock. Well, now that we know recreational marijuana will be on Arkansas's ballot in November and that the votes will count, we're now learning more about what it can mean for our state. A new report is giving us a better idea of the financial impacts it could bring if passed. Ian Russell breaks that down.
we're really putting our money where our mouth is with bringing forth this opportunity for Arkansans to vote on.
You'd have a hard time finding anyone more for recreational marijuana in Arkansas than Eddie Armstrong.
So a vote for issue 4 is really important. We encourage people to go vote.
As chairman of Responsible Growth Arkansas's ballot question committee, getting this on your ballot was only the first step. Now he's got to get people to vote for it, and Armstrong says they've got the data to back that up.
Knowing that we will have this type of new revenue potential is very exciting, and I think for the industry, while they're focused on other aspects of it, this is just good for the state of Arkansas.
But how good is good? They're predicting potentially $3 billion in impact.
You know, it's an eye raiser.
That's from data put together by the Arkansas Economic Development Institute.
That we're trying to model an industry that's brand new and really doesn't have a whole lot of data to give us any sort of information about.
That money won't just go to those in the marijuana industry either. Armstrong says projections show nearly $45 million dedicated to law enforcement and $30 million dedicated to cancer research.
This is bigger than just the smoking cessation of cannabis. This can really help those that are ill, those that have anxiety or sleep depression.
Of course, those projections are just an educated guess as to what the natural state could see, but for Armstrong, it's the spark they need.
It's a good business decision for voters, and it's a good business decision for the state.
All right, well, thank you for joining us here today. Don't forget, catch up with us again tomorrow right here for more news and weather where you live. For 5 News, I'm Jo Ellison.